This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of No Other Pod. And me, along with my good buddy Daniel Kooser. And Dan, current or good? So that's fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a thing. But I mean, dude, what are we doing? Why are we here today? I mean, you want to just sign off? You want to just end this right now?
Thank you all for coming to another episode of No Other Pod. I mean,
what are we doing? Well, who are we even talking about?
It's been a frustrating week of soccer for Sporting Kansas City. Another couple of losses. They have now 10 losses in their last 11 league games, which is not something that has happened, I think, since at least 1999, I read. So
pretty cool.
Not great. Not great at all. But, we'll talk a little bit about each of the games. You know, the RSL game on the midweek, there was a little bit of fight that the team showed that at least made it watchable. And then the Columbus game, there was little to no fight, and it was almost unwatchable, I would say. So it's not a fun time to be a Sporting fan.
Definitely two different games, right? Same results, but like, damn, that RSL game was like, woo, I am emotional. And I am just in it, dude. I'm grasped. And then this Columbus, it's like that. Columbus is a great team, by the way, but so is RSL.
Right.
And they come along and just smack us in the face. And we just don't know what to do. It's not the same team that played on Wednesday.
No, it's not. And you just also see just a distinct difference in quality between what a top side in either conference looks like and what Sporting Kansas City looks like right now. So,
dude, Columbus fans were having the time of their life. Like, I just thought, like, how fun that would be to be a Columbus fan at that game.
I mean, they're defending champions. They've made it to the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. One of their good young players is having his swan song as he goes to continue his career in Europe. I mean, these are all things that Sporting Kansas City have, accomplished or gotten close to accomplishing in their past, but it's been half a decade or more since this has happened. So,
bro, I'm going to give you a fun stat. We've been doing this podcast for 7 years, and we haven't won a trophy since. So we got to cancel.
Maybe it's our fault.
We're canceled, bro. We got to get out of here.
That's true, because we literally started the podcast the week after we won U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, a little way to come in, right? I want to come in, and I don't ever want to go out until we do the same thing, we want to go out on top.
We're going to keep going until we win a trophy. U.S. Open Cup this year.
We're still a part of that, damn it. We're still having fun in the Open Cup.
Leagues Cup hasn't even started.
Right, because I give us high hopes.
We could win it double this year.
Hold on. Stop. What are you doing? It's just not. I'm not even entertaining this idea. You're off your fucking rails, dude.
I mean, I don't even know. It's hard to know what to say anymore. I mean, at one point I was like, should we just pivot to being a WWE podcast on the Pod Twitter account? And we got a lot of, hundreds of votes. And of the four options that we gave, 45.8% of the vote was give me a hell yeah.
Of course it is. That's what everyone gravitates towards. They're missing the boat. They're missing the yeet boat.
Get on the yeet boat.
They need to get on the yeet boat.
The yeet boat might be the Money in the Bank winner coming up soon. So,
oh my goodness, we're pivoting.
I was told today we could do a combination of WWE, Lord of the Rings, and Disney parks, and it would be a more entertaining podcast.
Someone told you that?
Yeah, Alex Brown on
Are you serious?
He was like, if we just do those three things, we'll have quite a podcast.
That is so funny, and that's now all I want to talk about. Like,
well, and I what I told him, I was like, WWE and Lord of the Rings, where do they meet? Try to be the master of the ring. So
what the fuck? That is so stupidly cool. Oh, that is so dumb and awesome.
Yeah. So our new podcast, Lord of the Rings, except it's half wrestling and half J.R.R. Tolkien lore.
I keep having people telling me if I'm struggling with The Hobbit, that I'm not going to like Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
Hobbit was like a children's book.
Yeah. It's
how is it for children? I keep getting lost in how he phrases his sentences. I'm like, well, kids read like this?
That is true. And there's a lot of songs, and there's a lot of dwarf names that are like very similar to each other.
Yeah.
So it's a good book though. I do enjoy it. Push through.
We're pushing, but I can't read too late at night because my mind will start wandering and I'll be ready to fall asleep.
Have you ever done like audiobooks? Is that better for you?
Yeah, but I like reading. See, I read out loud to my wife. I get to play all the roles, baby. I get to do all the voices.
That's interesting. You know, especially as an actor,
Yeah,
it's probably good practice.
it's cool and keeps like your voice warmed up and stuff. But it lets her like be on her phone while she's got her own audiobook next to her. You know.
Now I want to know what your voices are for the various different characters.
Well, they're all high voices because they're like dwarves and elves.
High voices. Oh no, dwarves.
No, I give the Hobbit the high voice, and the dwarf is slightly lower than that. I differentiate. And then, of course, I got a wizard voice.
The big beards, and we must take the mines.
We're out of control. Why are you the one going off the rails? What is
I
happening?
can't wait to hear your Smaug voice. So
Well, it's Benedict Cumberbatch, so
okay.
it's going to be Doctor Strange. What do you mean?
Yeah. And then eventually, when you do read Lord of the Rings, because I'll make sure that you read it, you're going to have to do the sound effects of the Balrog and everything as he fights Gandalf on the bridge of Khazad-dûm.
What is happening?
I've got Nick with me in the chat, our producer. He's all about this. So
Reading Percy Jackson was way easier.
oh yeah, different target audience.
Yeah, I know. I think I know my level of reading.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, Nick, me too. I cry every time, even when I watch the movies, The Fellowship of the Ring. Fly, you fools! And then Gandalf falls. Oh my God, it's heartbreaking. I know what's
everyone. Nerd alert!
It's great. Anyway, let's. We do have a 5-star rating and review to read.
Oh,
So
is that what's pulled up on my phone right now?
let's go ahead and get to that.
Let me read it out loud because I'm good at reading out loud.
Now that we know, are you going to do a voice?
No, I got no voice.
Fallen?
I don't want to give Pratt M04 a voice. I don't know how it could offend them.
Glowing?
Stop. This is a 5-star review, as it should be. As it was written, Pratt says, I recently began following soccer this past season and attended the sporting game against San Jose. I think I'm going to just assume that's the playoff game that it was, but that would have been awesome. It was an exciting win, and since then, I've been eager to learn everything I can about the club. So far, I have a perfect 2-0 record for the home games I've attended, each resulted in a victory for Sporting. This podcast has been fantastic for keeping up with the team and sharing my newfound passion for soccer. Keep up the great work. I've since then joined a college rec team and continue my support for the club. Hopefully, we can turn this season around. Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Dude, new fans. Sucks you had to come on at a time like this. I assure you it wasn't always this way, and it won't always be this way.
But I will say, if you can become a fan and become a sustained fan in a season like this, boy, let me tell you, there are brighter days ahead, hopefully. But at some point, your mind's going to be blown when you're like, wait a minute, this is what a good soccer team looks like?
Exactly.
This is, and to be fair, my first game that I ever went to, a Sporting Kansas City game, was in 2014. I had moved from Los Angeles to Kansas City, and it was a 3-1 U.S. Open Cup loss to the Portland Timbers, and it was a terrible game. I think Sal Zizzo was the lone goal scorer, but it was the atmosphere that hooked me. So, if this reviewer was able to come to a game, he said, he or she has had 2 good experiences, 2 victories. Maybe we need to get them to the game. Maybe they need to come to more, and they'll be the good luck charm. But thank you for the review, and glad to have you as a fan, and hopefully Sporting can start winning some games for you because it's more fun. So,
indeed.
Let's talk a little bit about some of these games. I guess, we can start with what happened on Wednesday in the midweek against Real Salt Lake. This was an interesting game because if you looked at the lineup that was put out there, it was again sort of a hodgepodge due to injuries. That was maybe not what we had typically come to expect. We learned before this game that Alan Pulido had been listed as questionable suddenly with an injury. He was not available in the team, so obviously it's a little bit more than just questionable. And when I saw him after the game, walking around the locker room, there was a noticeable limp he was walking around with. So it might be a second before we see our designated player, Mr. Alan Pulido, in the lineup again.
Not great.
It's not great, no. It is not. Especially because, you could say, okay, well, RSL, maybe there's a little bit of an equalizer. Their best player, their number 9, Chicho Arango, was not starting for them on Wednesday night. Probably a little bit of rotation. But, we'll see how they do without Chicho Arango. And you look at the lineup that Sporting put out. Jake Davis slid back up into the midfield. We had a front 3 of Steven Afrifa, Willie Agata, and Johnny Russell. And then Davis, Radia, and Tommy in the midfield in front of Zoran Basong, Andreu Fontes, Danny Rosero, and Caden Pierre with Tim Melia in the back. So not exactly the first choice lineup, but I think this gets back to the problem that maybe we've had with this club for a while now, is if you don't have the first choice lineup, and even honestly now at this point with the first choice lineup, but especially if you don't have the first choice lineup, there's just not a lot of confidence that there's enough quality to get a result.
Have you seen anything different? I mean, has the first choice lineup gotten the result? I mean, it's not going well. So I see what Peter's doing. He's going to shuffle it around, see what can happen, because what's going on is not working. So sure, if there's one thing to applaud here, it's that. It's a good strategy.
Yeah. At least you're trying something different. It was nice to see Caden Pierre, theoretically, out there, because he's been injured.
Right.
But, it's hard to know really exactly what you're going to get with him, because he made his hot second appearance earlier this season, I think in an Open Cup game, got injured again. And then it's just, it's kind of just what we've come to know from the Sporting KC club this year. Silly giveaways in the midfield, 14 minutes into the game. Andreu Fontes, unfortunately, looks like he's got cement bricks for shoes.
And the Andreu Fontes game?
This is the Andreu Fontes game.
It is, dude.
And then, Gomez runs right by him, as would become a theme for the rest of the night in the 14th minute. And it took all of, not even 15 minutes into this game to kind of just be like, okay, they're way more athletic, they're way faster, and they're way more dynamic than we are. And it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. So what am I going to do? I'm going to overcommit all the time. I'm going to really push up the field when I'm getting burnt on every single play. Mm-hmm. This is a dude who thinks he's way faster than he is. And all it takes is a little freaking choppy step, and he's tripping over his shoelaces. I don't understand.
He doesn't have the ability to turn and run and recover. He doesn't have the agility to whip his body around when suddenly he gets, all twisted around because of a switch pass to the other side of the field or whatnot. And I mean, this is not unique to him just in this game. How many times have we seen Fontes step way up to the midfield line, or even run the ball up into the attack?
But if we are comparing these two games too, and these little differences that have happened, he did not start on Saturday. He was told to take a seat because just about every goal that happened against us in RSL, he played a part in.
But when he came in, guess what happened? He got run by, and Columbus scored. Exactly the same fashion.
Almost exactly the same thing. It sucks, man. It sucks. I'm not saying he's past his prime or anything. He just doesn't have the speed to keep up with everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Fontes has been, it's been a while now. He's been with Sporting Kansas City. I think this is his 7th year. It's gone by really. Yeah. It's gone by very fast, because I remember when he signed, and then the pandemic happened a couple years later, and it was just kind of okay, time is weird now. I don't actually know, what's what anymore. But
we signed him when I was still in Chicago. You're absolutely right.
He signed and made his first appearances for Sporting Kansas City in 2018.
Yeah.
So, and then, he sporadically, it probably doesn't feel like he's been here that long, because for the first 3 years that he was with Sporting Kansas City, 18, 19, and 2020, he made a combined 18 appearances. And I remember there was the conversation about, we are paying $1 million a year for a backup center back. What are we doing? And then in 2021, he came on and started 33 of 34 games, had a fantastic season. That was arguably his, MLS best 11 year, when people were talking about he should be a buyout candidate. And then the last 3 seasons, he's just kind of been back to, he's started a lot more, but he's just been back to sort of, he's Fontes, he's there. But he's got one standout year in the 7 seasons he's been here. So I think we kind of know the kind of player he is, unfortunately. It's just hard to let go of that 1 year, I guess, if you're Peter Vermees.
Every year, though, he always has like a block of games where it's like, oh, wow, he's the best on the field. Like, his defending is great.
That's what's so frustrating is like, he's got talent and ability. He's put it together at times. He's put it together for an entire year. It's just hasn't done it really outside of that. And when you see games like this, I don't think the good outweighs the bad. You know, the net positives he brings don't outweigh the risks that he poses on the field.
Right. And also, dude, I mean, feels like, I don't know, it's a podcast of 2 games here, is obviously what so I keep going back and forth because we have a more recent game. But like, Tim Melia is also not really the problem on Wednesday, but then we bench him to bring in Polskamp. And I'm like, I don't know that taking Tim out is the right thing to do. Like, I don't see him making mistakes.
And I don't know if that's just load management or what. Nobody actually asked Peter about Tim specifically. I mean, he talked a little bit about personnel and fatigue, and that was some of the, like, at least formation change on Saturday night. But that could have just been a scheduled rotation. But, I mean, it's pretty clear that neither of these games are really the fault of Tim or Polskamp.
No, definitely not. And Polskamp had some bitchin' saves, dude. I was like, damn, I forget he's good.
Yeah, and he had the one save, we'll talk about it, but I mean, it didn't even go down in the books as a save, but he basically just matumboed the shit out of Cucho Hernandez and because it ended up being offsides, and he was like, get that shit out of here.
Yeah, that was cool.
Let's go ahead and let's take our break here real quick before we continue and finish out this RSL game and then jump into the Columbus game. So we'll be right back.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
You watching this USA game right now?
I got it on my monitor behind me.
They're fighting. There was a fight going down, man.
There'll be
yellow cards coming out. I love international fights. Like, it feels like a war on a soccer field. I'm like, we're at war with Bolivia, bro.
Bolivia, you know, we're recording this as this game is happening, so we're kind of watching it, you know, on background here. Bolivia, if I remember correctly, is the team that Christian Pulisic scored his first ever goal for the U.S. men's national team against at Children's Mercy Park.
Yep.
So
that was a good time.
Little history there. So it would be nice if the U.S. could put together a good performance against a lackluster team like Bolivia. But
they're only ranked like 85th in the world. Not a big deal.
A solid
exaggeration.
A solid tune-up for some of the other quality Copa America teams.
Definitely. Dude, hey, y'all might get some live USA soccer analysis right here.
Some real live
living color.
Going back to the Sporting game, I mean, there was a little bit of hope that came back in the 28th minute because Stephen Afrifa, who he's been playing pretty well, honestly, just really solid individual effort, gets the ball, makes a turn, makes it 1-1, and you're in the 28th minute thinking, okay, this might be a chance here for Sporting Kansas City, and it's good. I saw someone online, I forget who it was, mention this to me. It might have been Drake, our regular listener Drake, who was saying that at this point he's kind of thinking about which players would you want to keep in the offseason, and he mentioned specifically the younger players are really the ones that he's keying in on, and Afrifa is certainly one of those who, he's put it fully together, but you see potential there.
There's potential there for sure, dude. Even on the wing, like maybe not as like a main striker guy, but he really puts a threat on the wing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Agata, even at times, man, Agata's so hungry and going after goal all the time. Like, he's in so many better scoring chances than Polito's ever put himself in.
It's true. You can tell there is a distinct difference in how this offense operates, at least this year. And honestly, at times over the past couple of years, when Willie Agata is on the field and Alan Polito is not. I mean, Alan Polito's strength in the past however many seasons had been his work rate, his ability to drop deep in the field. He pulled defenders off of other players and created running lanes. That's just simply not happening this year. He just looks slow and athletic. Willie's problem this year is he's got about a 12% chance of actually hitting the target if he decides to shoot, but at least he's getting chances to shoot, which is not happening for Allen. So
exactly. I do worry. Someone in the Cauldron mentioned that they should all wear, or they should all carry arrows that are like pointing to the goal or something. And at the time this was posted, I was like, but that's not the problem, really. Like, we're scoring goals. No, we're not scoring more than the other team, which is the point, but we are scoring. So, like, finding the net, we've scored quite a bit of goals this year.
Mm-hmm.
We've let in way more. So, I don't agree with that, that person, whoever that was. But then Columbus comes along, and it's like, well, goddamn, maybe we need them arrows.
Well, Columbus came along, we had like 29% possession. So, there was all sorts of problems in that game.
Yeah.
Afrifa gave us a little bit of hope. It was, immediately shattered by Julio for RSL. He chipped to Emilia again, just ran right by Andrea Fontes and Danny Rosero for that matter. So it's 2-1 at the half. And then again, just in the start of the second half, just, silly giveaways, just an unbelievably athletic RSL attack. Fontas steps up way again. Gomez just dribbles around him like a traffic cone and then chips Melia for a third time. That makes it 3-1. Willie, at that point, really did try. He kind of put the team on his back. He got his goal in the 70th minute. There was a little bit of a back and forth here, and this is where I meant that just there was some fight. Willie brought it down and had a little nice touch, put it away in the 70th minute to get us back within a goal, and then it just kept bouncing back and forth. Poor giveaway in the midfield yet again, and then RSL scores because somebody's way out of position, and then Willie gets his last little goal in the final minute of stoppage. But it's just it was a tug of war game, back and forth. I guess it was exciting. The common theme I kept seeing: poor giveaways in the midfield, completely unathletic back line, and that's all she wrote for RSL.
That's it, man. I mean, God, dude, RSL wasn't even starting their main guy, their main scorer.
No.
And then comes in and scored like immediately. Or no, didn't he?
Well, I mean, this is one of the frustrating things about this game in particular is this loss didn't, in a lot of ways, didn't necessarily feel the same as some of the other losses that Sporting Kansas City has had, because Sporting KC actually had 2.76 expected goals. 3 real goals, 2.76 expected goals. RSL only had 2.68 expected goals. Sporting Kansas City outpossessed and outshot RSL. Just about 60-40 in possession, 27 shots to 14 shots for RSL. So it's not like there weren't chances, it's just defensively, which that feels like it's been the biggest theme throughout this season for the past however many months. Defense is just broken.
Yeah.
Totally broken. So, one of the interesting quotes after the game, I thought, Peter, first off, he said, we gave up 4 soft goals. We scored 3. We had 10 really good chances. Defensively, it's 2 soft goals are too easy, blah, blah, blah. Nothing that we haven't heard. Tim Leibold was supposed to start at left back, and he had a late scratch. The way Peter phrased it, I don't know if people are reading into it or not, but he said he supposedly tweaked his quad in warm-ups, and people kind of keyed in on the word supposedly.
I think supposedly it probably means that someone else told Peter this. Like Peter doesn't know that. He hadn't talked to a doctor, but someone obviously told Peter that happened.
I that's my interpretation of it as well. I don't think it's Peter's questioning Leibold's.
Yeah, he would never do that, dude. He's pretty protective of his players and knows that a good coach knows that if you throw your players under the bus, they probably would throw you under the bus.
Yeah. And honestly, right now, the biggest thing that might be keeping Peter Vermees in his job is keeping the locker room.
Yeah.
Mike Gillick said in his article a few weeks ago with Sam McDowell that he knows for a fact, because he's talked to players in the locker room, Peter Vermees has not yet lost the locker room. And that was part of the reason why they said that they were going to keep him around. If this team continues to lose, and if you lose the locker room, I would be curious at what point and how long it would take for ownership to reevaluate what they told Sam McDowell even just a few weeks ago.
I don't know, man. I don't think they'll reevaluate nothing. They pretty much stick by their decisions. I'm honestly surprised they fired Gavin Wilkinson. Like I honestly didn't see that coming, so that was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I was surprised they moved on that as quickly as they did. I guess you could say.
That's another USA goal, folks.
Oh, did they just score?
Live reactions.
You're ahead of me.
Am I really?
Yeah. I agree with you, but at a certain point, this is getting louder and louder. Ooh, that is a nice goal. This is getting louder and louder, not just within sporting Kansas City circles where people are starting to question the direction of this club. People on MLS 360, Kalen Kyle, and started to talk about where is this going? There needs to be some changes. The broadcasters on the Columbus game, which we haven't even started talking about yet, were openly lamenting the lack of moves that Sporting Kansas City has made over the past however many years. And, one of them tried to, make it a little better. Like, well, they spent a lot of money on Alan Polito. And then the other guy was like, when? And they said 2019. They're like, yeah, 5 years ago. What have they done since then? Gotti Kinda left. No real replacement. They got Tommy and Agata on free transfers, and Tommy's been great. But it's just more and more people are openly, that aren't Sporting fans, are starting to question what is happening.
Tell me Tommy's not probably the best player on our team.
Oh, he is.
It's just, at one time I might have said Johnny Russell, but I haven't seen a lot from him. But really, people are just figuring out how to guard him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to trim the beard up, man. Maybe it's not aerodynamic enough, and he's getting caught up, and he's not quick as he once was.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just, this is it's a strange vibe around the team. Even Zoran Basong, we talked to him after the RSL game, and this quote I thought was really interesting. He was pretty blunt about what he said, and he was
like, supposedly libeled towards squad or something.
But he was like, they never really put us in much danger. I feel like there's always little mistakes. We didn't take our guy in the midfield. Sometimes we're losing the ball for nothing. We don't have any pressure. It's all these little details. It's what we've got to work on to not let those happen. It's not normal to concede 4 goals in a game like this 2 times in a row. We've got to work on this, work on our positioning, work on keeping the ball better. We scored goals. We have 3 goals. It's not normal to lose a game when we score 3 goals like this. It's not normal to concede 4 goals like that.
It's not normal to do it at all. And definitely not 2 games in a row. What about 3 games in a row? Could we have a conversation? I would love to have him revise that statement, revise his comments there. Because, holy shit, dude. Nah, y'all let in 12 goals over 3 games. That's crazy.
It's pretty, yeah, it's just, that was, especially for a player who's not regularly playing, to just have that blunt of an assessment of being like, hey, what we're doing is not normal and it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
I found interesting. And then, he started in the Columbus game. It was a formation change. They said it was a 3-4-3 offensively. Maybe it was. It was really more of a 5-4-1 defensively that it would shift into with, Castellanos, Rosero, and Volador, the back 3 center backs, and Basong and Caden Pierre were really the wing backs. That game, if it was upsetting defensively against RSL, things went fully off the rails against Columbus because, like we said, 29% possession, 3 shots for the entire game for Sporting Kansas City, 0 on target. If you look at the expected goals in this game, according to FOTMob, 2.02 for Columbus, 0.23 for Sporting Kansas City. It's just, and one of them, one of the shots that we had was almost all of it, 0.15 XG from Willie Agata, when he probably should have scored and then didn't even put it on target. So 4 goals allowed in 3 straight games. It looked like Sporting basically just gave up in the Columbus game.
Dude,
I don't know really where to even go from here for this team.
No, I mean, I've missed a few games in the past, and so I get so excited to be able to be free to watch these games, and then I'm like, why was I so excited? Like I finally got to sit down and enjoy my evening, and I'm like, I could have done so many activities in 2 hours, and am I going to stop watching a sport I love? No.
Right.
But I am going to be sad, and I probably will multitask while the game's on, and it will not have my full attention. Do you find yourself getting on your phone and just scrolling shit sometimes?
I mean, Sometimes, yeah, I'm trying to watch the game because even for the away games, I know I'm probably going to go to the press conference on Zoom, and so like if there's a question to be asked that nobody else is going to ask, I want to be able to ask it. I did not end up asking a question in this press conference after Columbus because everybody else sort of covered it all before it would have gotten to me. And quite honestly, it was a very weird vibe. Peter was he was very subdued and not in like a calm, unworried manner. Almost like in a like a dejected manner. Like this was the first time this year where I haven't seen him, defiantly upset about something, whether it be lack of effort or the referees or whatnot, or where he wasn't saying like, yeah, the result didn't go our way, but I thought we were really good in these ways. He was just like,
because we weren't good.
Low energy, monotone, kind of looking down the whole time he answered. Like it was just like, almost like he was sad, and I've not seen him like that, and this is just my personal interpretation of how he was, and we didn't get any players after that. That was the entire press conference.
Yeah, because they spent a whole week at training, and clearly their training plan was bad. And he's like, if your training plan is 4-0 bad, then you must be like real solemn and really considering your life choices here. Like, wow, I really messed up this week.
I mean, that's a good point.
That could be. The players did.
That could be because he talked about before this game the need to really sort of like muck up the midfield, if you will, and make it something that Sporting Kansas City could control. And that was part of the reason he decided to shift to this new formation. And clearly it did not work. It kind of sort of worked for 20 to 30 minutes where it wasn't getting anything offensively, but Sporting at least were able to keep Columbus at bay, and then they just, Cucho in the 32nd minute is just doing like a little dance in the box by himself, and defenders are sliding all over the place. They can't stay on their feet. They don't know where he's going, and he just calmly slots it right past Pulskamp.
Good player.
That's the difference between a true, highly valued designated player number 9 and what Sporting Kansas City has right now.
Yeah, he was fantastic to watch. He put on a clinic all night. It was just, it's unfortunate that it happened to us, but I found myself being like, damn, Columbus is good. And we usually ask ourselves, like, is that a great team or are we just a bad team? Well, both things can be true.
In this case, yes, it's both. Columbus is great and we are bad. Yes. And yeah, Cucho, again, he got his second goal. He was on a brace in the first half in stoppage. Again, just too soft defensively in the box, couldn't get anywhere near him. And then the third goal is the one that is just truly embarrassing, honestly. It took 3 passes to go the entire length of the field. I said this to a friend of mine who is not a fan of either of these teams, and his response is, he was like, that's honestly one of the worst defended goals I think I've ever seen. He goes, that's like a FIFA goal. Like that's what people do when they're playing on FIFA on like the easiest level, where it's like 3 passes up the midfield, through ball, goal. Nobody even tries to defend. And that's kind of what this felt like. And it just was disappointing. And then Cucho got his hat trick in the 72nd minute. That means that Cucho Hernandez, off of this set piece goal, which was again great kick, scored as many goals against Sporting Kansas City on Saturday night as Alan Pulido has all season. So,
real cool.
4-0, Columbus wins. Not much to be said. Like I said, Peter was pretty subdued. So
that's why I'm pretty quiet here. I'm like, what do you want me to say? I mean, next.
The weirdest thing that Peter said all night is, you could take your pick as to which game this was that he said it. He goes, he was asked what changed after following the first 30 minutes. He goes, I don't know. Look, I think the guys gave a good effort. They got behind us the one time, cut the ball back, they score, and then we were on the wrong side of the crosses that come across, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that I would have looked at this game and said, I think the guys gave a good effort.
No, definitely not.
Didn't resonate with me. But Caden Pierre maybe broke his hand, so he had to be subbed out. Castellanos turned his ankle. he had to be subbed out, which is what brought Fontes in, and he was the one who got run by on the third goal again. It's just things go from bad to worse to worse to worse. So
they sure do. Well, since you got Chip's message, how much of that you want to read there? You want to pick apart some of those stats for the people?
You want me to read it?
It don't matter. I can or you can.
Why don't you go ahead? I've been doing too much talking, so why don't you go ahead and you pull some highlights from and you know what? Let's do this real quick before. I was gonna say Holiday Distillery toast of the match, toast of the week. Gonna give it to Willie Agata just because he scored a couple goals in the midweek. So hey, Willie, Holiday Distillery, toast of the match to you. Thank you for your 2 goals. You made it a little bit exciting. I'm gonna say this: bonus Holiday Distillery, toast of the match, toast of the week. It's going to our boy Chip because he's out there every Sunday gathering stats to put together for Chip, the keeper of stats, our new segment that we've started.
Yeah,
and the stuff he's putting together is truly incredible. So bonus Holiday Distillery, toast of the match to our guy Chip for helping us out here with the pod in these hard times.
Well, and it's pretty great here, right? I mean, we talked about how it's the 3rd game in a row where we conceded 4 goals. It's also the first time that SKC had a hat trick scored on them since last March. Remember when Jordan Morris had a hell of a time against us?
Mm-hmm.
So we average 13 shots per game on the season, with about 4.5 of them on target. Well, we shot 3 shots all game last night against Columbus, and none were on target. It's just bad. It's tough to shoot when you don't have the ball, too.
That is true. That's just also a truly insane stat.
It's our we set a low, dude. We our possession numbers that's now the lowest mark we've ever had. So that's
crazy.
There's we move into the second half of the season, man. Obviously Columbus has 30 points through 17 games, and that's 3rd best in the East.
Mm-hmm. So
we face a really good team.
Yep.
But second half of the season's here. There's a gap developing between 13th and 14th in the West compared to everyone else. SKC's 5 points behind St. Louis, who is 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas is 1 point above them at 20, and then there's a 5-point gap where Seattle and Vancouver are battling out for that 9th place. So it's kind of, people are leaving us in the dust. And if we thought we were still in this league, like, you guys are crazy. And all you promotion relegation people, guess what? We relegated, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good, but maybe
somehow through all of this, there's still a team that's worse than we are in the West.
That's pretty insane.
And I don't understand. I think someone should do a welfare check on San Jose fans.
Dude, our magic number, first of all, we're at 0.6 points per game these last 5 games. Our magic number now to get in the playoffs is 2.14 points per game. In the remaining 14 games, there's no damn way. That means, like, you got to win a majority of them. I don't see that kind of comeback coming, man. We got a pretty hard schedule. We're one of 5 teams. Oh, this was interesting to me. We're one of 5 teams in MLS spending over $1 million in guaranteed compensation per point in the table. That list includes Miami in 5th most, then SKC, then San Jose, then Toronto and Chicago at the top, spending the most at $1.395 million per point.
And a lot of that's because of Shaqiri, who's got an ungodly contract.
SKC is at 1.133. But it's also worth it to note the points getting out of them. Sporting KC and San Jose are at the bottom. Okay? So that sucks. But Chicago is just above SKC, and Miami and Toronto have Messi and Insigne that drive up to, $20 million and 15.5 in guaranteed comp.
Yeah.
So they're the 2 highest players in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the guaranteed compensation for Leo Messi is greater than the total guaranteed compensation for 25 different clubs.
That's crazy.
It is. Now, he's great, right? He's a great player, so I get it. And, Miami's still paying fewer dollars per point than Sporting is, so...
And that alone makes more than 25 entire MLS clubs. And they're still paying less per point.
Yeah, because they're doing great, because their investment is paying off. Like that. That's what these numbers say right here, is that our investment is not paying off.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Something changed here.
Mm-hmm.
But we played a team that outmatched us in every statistic, man. Columbus. especially with coming off the game Wednesday against RSL. It just sucks to lose that bad. Like, I thought we'd lose, to be honest. I didn't think we'd get murdered like that.
Yep.
Anything I missed there? Chip had some good points in there.
The other thing that he mentioned is, Sporting KC had only let a team put up 4 or more goals on them in league play 20 times in the last decade. And
wild.
We've now done it 3 times in a row. So it's just pretty unacceptable. And we say this every week, but there's no reason to believe that anything's going to change at this point. So,
did you read the recap, the little write-up? And at the very beginning, it says, facing a difficult so many games in 8-day schedule and facing defending MLS Cup champions. Like, it kind of tried to soften the blow that they were just about to write an article that we lost 4-0. I was like, I see you. I see
playing
you doing
club's third match in 8 days and missing 7 players.
You missing 7 players was another one, yes. And then who they refer to Columbus as?
Reigning MLS Cup champions Columbus Crew. Yeah.
So it just says, with the odds stacked against them, it ended up exactly how you might expect.
Yeah. It's not fun.
It's not fun for anyone that's working there either. Like, come on, man. You don't want to work for a place that's like, you're losers. You're losing right now. Oh, I work for Sporting Kansas City. Oh, are they those people that keep losing? Yep, that's my employer.
It's not fun. I did. We did this on the pod, and then I also put one up on my own personal Twitter account where I just did a poll, and I said, if you are a Sporting KC season ticket member, what are your plans for the next year as of now? Because you were the one who brought up as an STM that season ticket renewals are coming up here very soon, and if I understand correctly, they've moved up the renewal deadline to earlier than it has been in years past. Is that correct?
I think so, because they don't want the team to get any worse, and they're like, let's try to get some people now.
That's what some people had theorized was, that they moved it up to even before the transfer window opened. So if nothing comes to fruition, then people have already been locked in.
Yeah.
Man, I had hundreds of replies. Nearly 70 just like actual like comments, replies back to me, and more than 300 votes on my Twitter poll that I put up, which again, this is not scientific. This is not representative of the 18,000 people that go to the games necessarily. But of the Twitter poll that I put up, as it stands currently, there are 14.5% of the respondents say they are planning to renew as of the time of this poll. 29% say they are undecided, and 56.5% say they are going to cancel their season ticket membership.
Prove it.
We'll see.
Prove it.
We'll see. Right. You can't actually
now
do it yet. But
my post did not, I was not implying that I'm canceling.
Sure.
I was just saying like, hey, this is crazy that renewals are next week.
Well, and I heard from a lot of people saying that if they haven't already said they're going to cancel, they have written a letter to their season ticket member rep or whatnot, indicating their displeasure. But one theme that, and I'm curious if you're in this boat as well, a theme that I sort of picked up on, and again, I am not a season ticket member, so I don't know, is that it seems like a lot of people say they have a hard time hearing back from their season ticket member rep. They don't get a lot of responses if they do send them something. Or there are some people who have said they've had as many as 3 or 4 different season ticket member reps, even just this season, because it appears to be a revolving door of people over there. So I don't know if that's your experience as well, but
that it's a revolving door of people over there?
Yeah, well, or that you just have a constantly changing season ticket member rep. So you start building a rapport maybe with one, and then they're gone, and now you have a new one. You're like, I don't know who to contact anymore. I can't get a reply.
That's the thing. Yeah, they're. I'm not alone. It sounds like so. Yeah, that is the thing.
So that's something that if you're gonna, have they put pricing out for renewals yet? Do we know?
No.
So that's another hit they may take. Is if they come out with renewal pricing and prices go up, as they are known to do, it's going to be another issue. But if you're not having a good product on the field, which, to be clear, the business people, the season ticket member people, they have zero control over the results on the field. So they can't be held responsible for decisions of remise or the wins, losses, etc. But when things there aren't going well, to me, it's that much more important that you make sure every other aspect of the customer experience, every other aspect of the fan experience when you come to a game is top shelf. Because if you're not seeing winning football on the field, then you need to have a truly valuable experience off the field. And it appears that people are not feeling like they're getting that, would be a theme that I'm picking up on. So, I don't know. It'll just be interesting to watch. So we'll see. Now Sporting Kansas City turns to face a team in, is it Austin is the next team, I think.
That's right.
Home on the 29th, and Austin's not great either, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't even know how to preview this game anymore because Austin's struggling, Sporting's struggling. We don't know who's going to be available. We don't know where Alan Polito will be. Remy Voltaire is probably not going to be available. We don't know what right backs we'll have available. We'll know more in the midweek, but right now it's just probably going to be an ugly game of soccer between two bad teams.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. So, do you have anything else you want to say on Sporting Kansas City before I touch on one funny thing to kind of end the pod?
Nah, man. Yeah, I didn't want to spend 45 minutes on Sporting Kansas City.
I know.
In all honesty, I hate to say it, I enjoy my Chris time more with Kansas City Current.
I understand. I mean, Current are out there putting up 4 goals on the opponents.
It feels like that though. With like doing both podcasts, I'm like, man, I gotta go hang out with Jimmy.
You got friggin' Temwa Chawinga, who's on a 1 versus 3 and somehow still making the Portland defenders look silly.
Portland looked very silly today. It's so fun.
It's interesting. But the funniest thing that happened this weekend, and I thought about making this referee our honorary holiday dose to the match, is in the Atlanta St. Louis game. St. Louis had a goal that then there was a VAR review for a potential offside call. And there's the new protocol in MLS this year where the refs have the microphone. They announce what they saw and the reasoning for their decision. So this ref comes out, he does the VAR signal, and this man must have been a theater kid as a child because the drama in his voice as he did this, I was like, he knew exactly what he was doing. He steps up and he's got the bass in his voice and he's like, after review, there was no offside on the call. And like the way he said no offside, like the place erupted and you're like, okay. And then he holds up his hand and gives a little smirk and there's a slight delay and he goes, however, there was a foul in the buildup on St. Louis and therefore there is no goal. And the place lost it. And it was just pure cinema because he had to know exactly what he was doing.
It's fantastic. I like that so much more than regular refereeing. Like, right. It is determined you are not the father. Like, you've got to pause, dude.
Yeah.
You've got to pause for it.
And it's so funny because before this protocol, and I even saw this caught fire over in England where people are like, we got to bring this to the EPL. Like this has to be a thing because before he just would have come out and he just would have done the VAR signal and then he just would have said no goal and he just would have waved it off and that would have been it. We just all would have assumed, oh, it was because of offside or whatnot. And eventually we would have gotten clarity that it was for a foul. But to see him, he holds his hand up and he smirks and then he puts his finger up and he goes, however, and I just was like, oh, and the fact that it happened to St. Louis, like just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So funny. So at least soccer brought me a little bit of joy this week between that and the Kansas City Current. But
indeed,
other than that, hey, and the U.S., they're up 2-0 right now on Bolivia as the second half is starting as we're recording.
Yes. Yeah. Looking pretty good. Yellow cards keep coming out, though.
Is there anything else you want to talk about this week, or are we calling it good?
No, that's it, man. We'll see how bad Austin is on Saturday, but being at home is not exactly an advantage.
You think the weird Austin accounts are going to come out of the woodwork again at us?
Yes, that's 100% happening. So be prepared to just ignore.
You'll probably start a couple days from now, and I'll be like, I don't have the energy for this.
Don't even. I'm surprised you haven't blocked them.
I don't block them because it is like mildly entertaining when I see them. I'm like, they're still at it. But I don't ever reply. I'm just like, why? Why are we still doing this?
Yeah, I almost wish you couldn't block sometimes to be in kind of an echo chamber. I wish there were like stipulations, like you just can't block someone because you don't like what they have to say. You know what I mean? But if it's like hate speech, then like you should absolutely be able to block them.
Yeah, I mute a lot more people now than block. But if people are saying stuff that, like you said, is like hateful in my mind, then I'll do the blocking. But
yeah, 100%. There's levels, right?
Yeah. So anyway. Thank you all so much for listening and sticking with us. Here's hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll be back here next week for one of the few victory pods we've had this year. But make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at NoOtherPod, at Dan Kooser, at JCMac03. Leave us that 5-star rating and review, and we'll read it here on air. Shoot us an email, nootherpod@gmail.com, or check us out on YouTube, KCSN Soccer, or on the Kansas City Sports Network app. But until next time, he's Dan. I'm Jimmy. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
Just win a game, baby.